My name is Bill Mousoulis, and I, together with Chris Luscri and the co-curator of these particular screenings that we put on, called Unknown Pleasures. So thanks for coming on this pretty cool night, and thanks to the cinema for hosting this screening and other screenings that they host. And a big thank you to the traditional owners of this land who allow us to live, work and play here after 250 years of abuse against them. My respects to the Wurundjeri people, to the elders, and my love and solidarity with all Indigenous people. Unknown Pleasures almost kind of fits for a screening of Erin's films, Erin M McCuskey. She's from Ballarat, which I think a lot of you know, and she's had a few screenings in Melbourne over the years, and I first knew of her from the Melbourne Super 8 group in the late 1990s, and there was a bit of a Super 8 activity in Ballarat at the time, and I remember going over for a couple of screenings. And so it's a collection of short films, and they're very exquisite and delightful kind of films. And we're going to have a Q&A at the end, which is going to be run by Fagyn Gwyther-McCuskey, Erin's daughter. They've worked together, so they kind of know the workings and the thematics and everything of the work. And so stick around for that at the end. It'll be a great little Q&A. And so this is Erin here. You want to say a few words?
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. The extraordinary Bill Mousoulis, who's now going to write a book about his experiences. He's not really, but Colin and I have made him. He's going to be writing a book. I just wanted to acknowledge also the elders of this place, Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Most of these works have been created on Aural country, and I acknowledge the elders and the joy and the culture and the incredible gift of country that we made them give us. I will leave it there, and it's so beautiful to see all your faces. Thank you.
So Bill mentions Erin McCuskey is a film artist of the highest calibre, utilising dance and music together with archival footage to create a sensual and experimental aural and visual feast. Her work celebrates families and communities through a female sensibility and through the richness of memory and the lands we live on and come from. So I wanted to chat to you a little bit about the themes you use in your films. You've got a lot of women, a lot of heritage, sort of death in there. take us through it. From the top.
I feel like I just did that, really. But I tend to fall in love with pieces. As you've probably seen, you can see recurring images, you can see recurring themes. The theme of joy is a really big one of mine, and it's where all the dancing is situated. It's situated in women finding a sense of freedom wherever they are by twirling or dancing. And I feel like finding joy is a really rebellious thing to do, because we get so caught up with the heaviness of the world that women are able to hold space by finding joy, by not disappearing down that tunnel of death and the hard things. But it's not that death is ironically without joy either. There is in the film Do Not Go Gentle, you'll see older women dressing for a battle, the battle of death, that they know they can't win. So yet there's a joy in that, of women holding each other together. So yes, lots of feminism, lots of joy, and lots of death.
Yes, we do love to see a lot of the dancing as well, which I think you do a lot in your everyday life.
I do.
Mum actually started doing a during COVID doing a daily dance every day with a lot of her friends, which she continues to do to this day. So it's lovely to see lots of dancing still. Do you have a sense of where the work shifted? Are there any turning points?
Yeah, there's a big turning point, and that is when I began working with Christine Tammer. So they're the works that you would have seen, Do Not Go Gentle and Twirl Deluxe. So that's where those started. We had a little fight today over which one came first, and she is adamant that Do Not Go Gentle came first, so she's won that battle. And she told me about a story of how she came to me for that work. She said, "It's got to be you," and I didn't know her at the time, so I was apparently like, "Oh yeah, I'll think about it." And it turned out to be such an incredible collaboration. She broadened my understanding of what was possible with audio. I know how important it is, and I know that audio leads you through a piece, and I think what I gave to her was the capacity to go backwards and forwards in a iterative process where I would say, what about this? Bring her a little visual of 30 seconds, and then she'd come back with the audio for that, and then we would go backwards and forwards. So we had some tussles about what was important, and that was, absolutely the best collaborative partner I've ever had. So there's definitely a turning point when I began working with Christine. And I think the other turning point was when Mum died. So I probably should have warned, I've got some sisters in the audience, so if they yell out, it's just the McCuskey thing. But I should have warned them about how often they were going to see Mum and Dad on screen. My work is really personal. It comes straight from here. So the turning point, I think, when Mum died was she'd been my muse for many years, my only muse, as it turns out. So when we lost her, I just thought, oh, well, that's it. Actually, my life is over as well. And because I have no muse, I lost my muse. And it took me a little while to understand that was a real kick in the pants, that we don't have the time that we think we do, but also that I can have as many bloody muses as I want. So when I created the city of Luxville, that was very much coming from that place of, if I haven't got Mum, who have I got? And I've found so many women that inspired me, that were like me and really different to me, and they were probably the two turning points for me.
And because Luxville, we didn't see any Luxville, but Luxville is a project that Mum has been working on since 2015, I think. So do you want to tell everyone about what Luxville is?
So Luxville is the story of a place very like Ballarat, and it is about a place that is a little bit shit but a little bit fantastic. And what makes it a little bit fantastic is the muses that are everywhere. That what makes it a little bit shit is that they often go unnoticed in a city the size of Luxville. And it gave me the opportunity to dig into the place where I live and talk about those things in a more comfortable way for me to be able to say out loud, well, that's really shit, what's happening there? But it's happening in Luxville, it's not happening in Ballarat. So it gave me an opportunity to ironically be authentic in a way. And I decided that I would produce those works in public. So I didn't know where the story was going. I do now. So I decided to make it in public because I didn't know what it was about. I just knew it was about, I'd lost my muse, I'd lost a huge light in my life. How do I find that light again? And chandeliers.
Yes. If you've been to our house, there is chandeliers in every room. How about your cinematic and camera forms, especially in Do Not Go Gentle?
So a lot of the technique, I believe, has come from, and I'm only kind of recognising this now, being able to look back, is that I don't see very well. It's very difficult for me to focus a camera, and I thought for years that was possibly the most important thing about a camera. Turns out for me it's not. For me it's about seeing in a different way, seeing with your heart. So I wanted to use a lot of blur because that's the way I see, and some of the, particularly in Do Not Go Gentle, some of the editing probably techniques that I've used, and camera techniques, were getting people to act backwards, and I would record it backwards and then play it forwards. So there's like this triple layer of where people are going, and it gives a real strangeness to the work where time seems to really pull and push, and you think, oh, is that backwards or is that forwards? And I hope after a little while you lose that thing of trying to work it out and just disappear into the screen somewhat and be surrounded by that strangeness.
Yeah, it's quite mesmerising actually, especially in Do Not Go Gentle, when there's the three women and the two beside, kind of picking things up or dropping them.
Yes. So they acted backwards. So they walked backwards. We dressed the woman beforehand and then undressed her so that she was dressing in the piece. But the thing about death is that time just goes in tides for people who are living around that death. So the drawing in and drawing out, it's almost like a breathing. And so when they drop something or it appears in their hands, that's what it's like. It's like you having experienced death of someone close to you, you feel invisible. How does the world continue around this? And you're in this moment of strangeness. It's strange, yeah.
And was that a conscious choice, or was that something that you found in the edit, do you think?
The backwards forwards thing? It was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I knew that when I was recording. So I gave the instruction to walk backwards. I think it was walk backwards, be deliberate, and try not to look around too much. It's pretty straightforward.
Bloody difficult.
And bloody difficult.
Can you talk about your concept of expanded cinema?
So a number of the films that you've seen tonight, Random Number Generator, Do Not Go Gentle, and Precious Fragments, are actually built for 3 screens. So you would have the screen in front of you as it is now, you would have a screen on that side, and you would have a screen on this side. The concept is that the audience is enveloped by the work, so you lose that sense of audience here and screen here. And what I'm trying to build is a way for people to dive into the screen, and the only way I can do that is kind of to build the screen so it goes around them. And I know there's a lot of different forms of expanded cinema, particularly in the experimental film world, where they might have people working with projectors or creating loops and sounds as the projection happens, or dancing in it. But for me, the important thing is that the audience lose the sense of it being a screen. It just becomes, mind and eye, and you start watching and feeling the piece rather than trying to intellectualise the piece. Although there's lots to go on with in terms of, the symbolism and all that sort of stuff. But to let yourself go in a piece like that as an audience member is fabulous.
And because Do Not Go Gentle and Random Number Generator, they both were at Ballarat White Night, so they were fabulous. You definitely got a sense of being captivated by the whole process. It was beautiful.
Thank you. And Random Number Generator actually is a 5-channel piece. So there was the main screen in the centre, and then there were 2 screens that side and 2 screens that side. So you literally couldn't escape the feeling of being in a gambling venue and the addiction that must take to be able to, you know, withstand all of that.
Maya Deren was a choreographer, dancer, film theorist, poet, lecturer, writer and photographer. A filmmaker. A Ukrainian who made her name and many of her films in America in the 40s and 50s, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in film. She believed the function of film was to create an experience. She said, "I am not greedy. I do not seek to possess the major portion of your days. I am content if, on those occasions whose truth can be stated only by poetry, you will perhaps recall an image, even only the aura of my films." What do you want your films to be, Erin? What do you want for your films?
I would love an audience to leave having felt something, you know, for something really from their heart rather than their mind. And, you know, the poetry of what Maya Deren did is incredible. If I can find some of that poetry, if I can share that with people, then I feel like I've done what I set out to do.
And you succeeded tonight.
Thank you.
And before we throw it to the audience, it's important that independent artists like Erin get the word out for when she has screenings like this. So she will give you, are you going to give everyone your, how do you want to do that? Everyone write down their email
You
address.
could maybe find me on Instagram is probably the best place, just at Erin McCuskey. Leaving your email address would be great, because then I can pop you on the email list.
Beautiful. Good on you, Ezzy.
Yeah, thanks, darling.
Now we'll throw it to the audience if anyone has any questions. Beautiful.
Just on what you were saying about the techniques, the poetry, and in the films, like in Do Not Go Gentle, is quite incredible, because it's this half-hour work that kind of weaves in and out of these different elements. And I was just it's really brave, it's really fantastic, I love it. But when you've shown the films, have some people been perplexed and, you know, wanting something a bit more conventional with the themes, the exposition, the expression of the themes? Or you feel that people are drawn into the poetry?
When the work first screened at White Night, it was probably the 3rd time I tried expanded cinema. And I was really concerned about that, because people don't come easily to death, if you know what I mean. So it was really interesting. It was down a little alleyway in a small car park that was bricked on 3 sides and open. There was no cars there, obviously, because it was White Night. So we'd been there quite late the night before, and we had literally no idea how people were going to respond to it. And I was really worried that as I walked down that alleyway, as I turned to go down there, because there was lots of really bright stuff, right? There was lots of, you know, bright, you know, zappy music over here and some fun stuff over there, and just thought, oh God, there's death down this alleyway. What are people going to do? And as I turned into the alleyway, I was totally shocked that people had gone into the car park and were sitting down, and they spilled out across the alleyway. So I couldn't actually get close. So because it ran for 12 hours or whatever, I kept popping back. It was constantly full. And people said to me after that the strangeness of it brought them back again. So if they turned up and it was, you know, halfway through, they would sit and watch that and then watch it until it came through the thing again. And then they would wander off into the city to all the fun stuff and they would come back to it again. So some people who I didn't know watched it, you know, 3 times over the course of the night. So I feel like people, when they allow themselves to stop thinking about the fact that it's about death, they allow themselves to experience the kind of death that is on the screen, they've responded really well. But it's not often shown in it's not often shown in its original format. So it's difficult to get people to have an understanding of that when you're only showing a third of the work. Yeah, so it's really interesting.
No, I'm pleased about that response. I mean, it's almost like, you know, great art is undeniable at times, and I think a lot of film producers don't give enough credit to an audience to be able to, you know, kind of understand and go with more experimental work. So I think you've done well.
Thank you. And I think we are fed a steady diet of fast food cinema, and that's our go-to. And we all love fast food. I watch, you know, RuPaul, and I love it. But yeah, to get access to these kind of works is, I just want to thank Bill and the Unknown Pleasures crew. Thank you so much. And to Colin for filming tonight, and to Matt and Ruby here at Thornbury Picture House. You're outstanding. Thank you for the opportunity. I so appreciate it. And thank you all for coming. It's so gorgeous to see your faces. Thank you. I just, very heart. I'm very heart. Thanks.
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up there. So cool. Thanks for coming, everyone. Yeah.